What's up, Raider Nation? Today we're diving into the buzz around a potential contract extension for Jakobi Meyers and covering some key updates surrounding the silver and black. Let's kick things off with Meyers. Now, while there hasn't been an official report saying the Raiders are actively negotiating an extension, let's just say, if I were in the front office, that conversation would absolutely be on the table. Think about it. With other big contracts getting handled around the league, like Geno Smith's, the Raiders should be shifting focus toward locking in their core guys, and Jakobi Meyers should be near the top of that list. Yes, Colton Miller deserves consideration too, and we'll get into that in another video. But between the two, Meyers stands out. He's younger, productive, and a key piece in this offense. Sure, offensive linemen like Miller are harder to replace, but top-tier wide receivers don't grow on trees either, especially not ones with Jakobi's versatility and reliability. If the Raiders decide not to extend Miller, they could potentially draft a lineman with their top pick. But finding a quality wideout at number, Arhu, that's not nearly as simple. That's why prioritizing Meyers right now makes sense. Let's break down why extending Meyers would be a smart move, starting with the contract itself. As it stands, he has no guaranteed money left on his deal and is set to hit free agency in 2026. The smart play? Add a 2-year extension that runs through 2027. That way, the team keeps him under contract for 3 more seasons, using the existing void years to structure it in a cap-friendly way, just like they did with Max Crosby. Let's say the Raiders offer him a 2-year extension worth $40 million, fully guaranteed. That bumps his total deal to 3 years and $55 million, about $18.3 million per year. That would put him around the 22nd highest paid wide receiver in the league, which feels like a fair spot given his production. And let's be real, as the cap continues to rise, that contract is going to look even better down the line. By 2026 and 2027, years when the Raiders are aiming to be true contenders, having a dependable receiver like Meyers locked in at that price could be a huge win. This offseason also lines up perfectly for a move like this. The free agent wide receiver class was underwhelming, and there weren't many big money deals flying around. Outside of a few exceptions, most receivers didn't land massive contracts, which gives the Raiders an opportunity to secure one of their own without breaking the bank. Let's be real, this offseason is the perfect time for the Raiders to lock in a deal with Jakobi Meyers. With a relatively weak free agency class and a draft class that lacks elite wide receiver depth, there's a strong argument for getting this extension done now, before the market shifts. And here's the thing, the Raiders have the money to make it happen. Depending on the source, Las Vegas has between $42 to $43 million in cap space. That's top 3 across the entire league. So the resources are there, and using a portion of that to secure a reliable offensive weapon like Meyers would be a smart, forward-thinking move. The Raiders could even structure the extension in a cap-friendly way. They might choose to front-load the deal, meaning Meyers earns more in 2025 and then reduce his cap hit in 2026 and 2027. That opens the door to make bigger signings in those key Super Bowl contending years without limiting flexibility. Now let's talk about what Meyers brings to the table. He's a true WR2, a high-end one. While he might not be the type of wideout you build an entire passing attack around, he's an incredibly valuable piece of the puzzle. Call him a WR1B if you want, but he's not quite at that dominant number. One level, and even the Raiders have acknowledged that in their offseason evaluations. Still, what he does bring is consistency. Meyers hauled in 87 catches last season, went over 1,000 yards, and found the end zone 4 times, all while playing in a less than stable offensive environment. And let's be honest, both the Patriots and Raiders haven't exactly had elite quarterback play or offensive continuity over the last few years. Yet Meyers keeps producing. He's played under multiple offensive coordinators and systems, Mick Lombardi, Luke Getsy, Chip Kelly, and he just keeps showing up, doing his job, and delivering. That kind of consistency is rare. Even former teammates have taken notice. Despite a rocky exit from the team, Josh Jacobs recently called Jakobi Meyers one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Coming from someone who's been openly critical of the organization, that's a pretty powerful endorsement. Looking at the numbers over the last few seasons, 2023, 87 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2022, 71 receptions, 807 yards. He's had reliable hands too, with most stat trackers recording 0 drops last season. That's elite-level security for a quarterback, and that's why extending him makes sense. He's consistent, productive, and fits exactly what this offense needs moving forward. That's the type of player you invest in. So here's the question for you. Will the Raiders extend Jakobi Meyers this offseason? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you believe they will, type extend below. Let's see where Raider Nation stands. Now look, if the Raiders decide to simply pay Jakobi Meyers his $15 million this year and let him hit free agency next offseason, that's a choice they can make. But in my opinion, the better move is locking him up now. I'm still firmly in the team extend camp. 2 years, $40 million added on top of his current deal, making it 3 years, $55 million total. And here's another big reason why: his chemistry with Geno Smith. When you look at potential pairings in the NFL, some just make sense, and Meyers with Geno is one of them. Over the past 3 seasons, Geno Smith has been the league's most accurate quarterback, according to Warren Sharp. That matters, especially when you consider that Meyers was the only wide receiver in the league last season with over 100 targets and 0 recorded drops, per several trusted stat sources. Even if some charts say he had 1 drop, the point still stands. His hands are elite. If you watch Geno's tape, and not just the highlight reels, you'll notice how often he leaned on Jackson Smith-Njigba in high-pressure situations. Third downs, red zone, 2-minute drills. Geno consistently trusted JSN to be exactly where he needed to be. That's the type of relationship he can absolutely develop with Jakobi Meyers. And while JSN might be the better athlete overall, their playstyles are remarkably similar. Both are smooth route runners, both are excellent possession receivers, and both thrive in timing-based offenses. With Chip Kelly calling plays, the Raiders have a real chance to use Meyers in the exact kind of role that Geno has already proven to work with. This isn't just about stats, it's about culture too. In today's NFL, let's face it, the wide receiver position is loaded with big personalities. The word diva gets tossed around a lot, but Jakobi Meyers, he's the exact opposite of that. Everywhere he's been, from New England to Las Vegas, coaches and teammates have praised his work ethic, humility, and team-first mindset. And in a franchise that's undergone constant change, new GMS, new coaches, new quarterbacks, stability matters. Players who remain valuable through all that chaos are rare. Meyers has shown he can adapt, stay professional, and contribute no matter what's happening around him. Contrast that with some other personalities the Raiders have dealt with. Meyers doesn't make it about himself. He doesn't need the spotlight. He just shows up, works hard, and does what's asked. Whether it's blocking downfield, running clean routes, or moving the chains in key moments. That's the kind of player you build around. And if you're paying attention to the contracts Las Vegas is handing out lately, there's a pattern. Max Crosby, 3-year deal. Adam Butler, 3-year deal. Geno Smith, 3-year deal. The front office clearly wants to lock in the core players who reflect the team's new culture and long-term vision. So if Jakobi is someone you see as part of that future, and he absolutely should be, then it's time to give him the kind of deal that says, you're a part of this build. Here's the thing. If the Raiders are serious about building a long-term, winning culture, then Jakobi Meyers should absolutely be part of that foundation. Everything this front office has been preaching, hard work, professionalism, team-first mentality. Meyers embodies it. He's only 28 years old and still has prime years ahead of him. If you're trying to build a team that can compete over the next few seasons, locking in someone like Jakobi just makes sense. Sure, some might think a $40 million extension is a bit steep, but when you consider his consistency on and off the field, it's worth every penny, especially when you're trying to separate from the type of personalities that don't always align with team goals. Jakobi is the opposite of the me-first mentality, and that's exactly what this organization needs. All right, let's shift gears and talk about some important Raiders draft-related news you should know about. First up, Yahya Black. This guy is a unit, one of the biggest prospects in the 2024 NFL Draft, listed anywhere from 6 feet 5 inches to 6 feet 6 inches, with a frame hovering around 340 to 350 pounds and a wingspan pushing 7 feet. He's a pure space eater at the nose tackle position. When he engages with offensive linemen, you can practically hear the impact. Right now, he's raw. His upside is huge, but he's still developing, especially as a pass rusher. That said, if you're a believer in Rob Leonard and the Raiders coaching staff, you might see a moldable piece here. Don't be surprised if Black is a name to watch on day 3 of the draft. Next name, Ethan Garbers. Garbers, the former UCLA quarterback, reportedly visited with the Raiders. It's not confirmed whether it was a top 30 visit or just a local stop, but either way, it's intriguing. He's not a player you expect to compete for a starting job or even a backup spot, but don't rule out the Raiders bringing him in as a UDFA, undrafted free agent, to compete for a practice squad role. He played under Chip Kelly from 2021 to 2023, and this offseason, Garbers credited Kelly with a huge part of his development. Leadership is one of his strengths, and if Las Vegas is preaching competition, it wouldn't be a surprise to see him battle it out with Carter Bradley for that developmental QB spot. And finally, let's talk about a potential top 50 pick, Maxwell Hairston. The Raiders have reportedly shown interest in Hairston, who's projected to go in the late first or early second round. He's a fast, twitchy corner. Think of him as a Nate Hobbs type with even more speed. The guy ran a blazing 4.28 in the 40-yard dash and has impressive ball skills. But there's a trade-off. His run defense is a liability. If you're looking for a lockdown, all-around corner who plays physically in the run game, Hairston isn't your guy. However, the Raiders already have pieces like Jeremy Chin, Ellendon Roberts, and Isaiah Polamau to help in run support. What Hairston brings, speed, range, and versatility in coverage, may be exactly what the defense is looking for in sub-packages and nickel formations. Let's wrap things up with one more quick note on Maxwell Hairston before we move on. The guy is a pure athlete. If you let him play to his strengths in the right scheme, especially one that doesn't ask him to be a heavy run defender, he could really thrive. He's got some swagger too, that Jack Jones kind of confidence, but with even more upside. And if you're missing that fire Jack brought to the field, Hairston might just bring it back in a bigger, better way. Trust me, he's a better all-around player. Now, let's shift to something every Raiders fan should be keeping an eye on, the team's top 30 visit tracker heading into the draft. As of now, the Raiders have had 28 confirmed visits. That leaves room for just 2 more. Here's a quick breakdown by position based on what we've confirmed so far. Quarterbacks, 8. Cornerbacks, 4. Offensive linemen, 3. Running backs, 2. Wide receivers, 2. Edges, 2 defensive tackles, 2 linebackers, 3 safeties, 2. One of those names includes Jalen Walker, who's listed by some outlets as a linebacker, but honestly, his future might be better suited on the edge. He's not the most refined at linebacker, but if you let him pin his ears back and attack, he could be a special player. Pure athlete, raw potential. Another trend we're seeing in these visits. Players like Jalen Nowell and Charles Grant have also made the list, and both bring intriguing traits that could help fill depth roles or contribute on special teams right away. Some of these guys aren't first-round names, but the Raiders are clearly doing their homework across every round of the draft. Now look, if you're still with us and you believe Jakobi Meyers deserves that contract extension, now's the time to be heard. Share this video, drop a comment, be loud about it. The Raiders are building something, and Meyers is the kind of player who fits that culture. He deserves to be part of the next chapter.